Welcome back to Be the Frequency. I am so thrilled that Kristen said yes to coming on here and talking to you guys. Kristen is a phenomenal, she's an energy healer, she's an intuitive, and she really specializes in somatic work and really teaches from this place of like divine feminine healing. And as you can imagine, I think some of that language and stuff like that comes with like a lot of people being like, oh, this is interesting. This is different. This is what exactly do you do? So I think there's so many of us that have these interests that are feeling some of these callings in this world that people might not have language for. So I figured having her on was a really great way to kind of conversate and just kind of riff and talk about all this. So I'm so thankful that you're here, Kristen.
Yay, I'm so excited to be here. I love talking about this stuff, and I always love conversations with you.
I know. Kristen and
Great.
I know each other in real life too. So it's
True.
fun when you're like, hey, I've got this. I think you can teach and help so many people by sharing some of your little nuggets of wisdom. It's always nice when you kind of know the person. And we were kind of joking. We know each other so well. We were like, well, maybe we start this podcast off with like a primal scream. And I was like, it's fun.
So now for the listeners, that will play that.
Yeah.
Great for us.
Yeah. It'd be one of those things like everybody listening in your cars. Have you seen where it's this thing where they gather around? It's like a waterfall or like a bridge or something like that. And it's called like this primal scream group. And they all gather together and everybody screams. Have you seen that?
Gosh, no, but that is amazing.
I'll have to find it.
Please do, because I'm like, I feel like that's what we need. I always tell people like scream in your car. That's my
Yeah.
favorite place to scream.
Yeah. I'm
But
like,
it'd be really awesome if like you just were at stoplight and looked at everyone and was like, 1, 2, 3, let's do it.
everybody.
Everyone yell. We're all yelling together.
That would be honestly, if we had our windows rolled down, so that way full effect.
Yeah.
But I really want to kind of just dive right in and jump into a little bit of how her and I have known each other for years and kind of have navigated a lot of the energy healing world and stuff like that, kind of side by side. But I would love to know a little bit more about how you actually got into it. Because I feel like when I met you, you were already kind of, again, we were already like tiptoeing down that road a little bit.
Traveling.
Yeah. Yeah. How did that happen? Because I think a lot of people have this like urge to help people and are called to this. And they're like, well, how do I make money? How do I do this
How
as
does
a
that
business? Like, what do I do?
what happens now? I think when I first started down this path, I was a hairdresser for a long time. So I already was touching people, helping people, and I was very tired all the time. Very, very tired, very, very drained. I also had, I think, 4 young kids at home when I started on this path. I did.
I
And
have to count. Hold on. How
yeah,
many?
I know. I was like, was it 3 or 4 then? That's like the measure of life, right? It's like, how many children did I have at that time? Was I pregnant during it? So I actually did yoga teacher training when I was pregnant, which kind of like started down this path. I guess that was the initial. And I went to energy healing with our friend Brooke, our mutual friend Brooke. And I was like, I want to know more about this. And then I just kept seeing her everywhere and seeing her everywhere and seeing her everywhere. And she was like, hey, I'm going to do this training. You should come. I first said no because I think there was, like, something on that night. And I was like, no, my kids have this. And then it was like COVID time
Yeah, it
that
was.
got canceled. And so I was like, well, I guess I can go. So I'm going to do it. And that just helped me. Like, I've always known things about people and about situations. And sometimes I'm just like, doesn't everybody just know that? Don't you just get it?
Yeah,
Like,
it's normal. Like, don't all
yeah.
get these like moments where you're like, can tell you the future a little bit. You don't have.
Yeah, like, I'm just like, well, it's obvious. Like, it almost like that's kind of how things have always felt to me. Like, well, of course it's gonna go this way, this way, this way. And even now, still sometimes I'm like, is this intuition or does everybody know this? And so that's how kind of my gifts were. So it made me, I definitely feel like I doubted myself in the beginning because there wasn't like a visual or a voice or this. And I'm like, but I know things and they're right.
Yeah,
So having that training kind of like helped me to understand that that was real and that wasn't just, and not everybody knows that. Some
yeah,
people do if they tune into it, but it was like, this is actually a gift. I've always felt like people used to tell me I did the best shampoos and then I hated doing them because I didn't want to touch people all the time.
yeah.
But I've,
Well, and because they're the crown when you shampoo, like the crown
Mhm.
of their head is pretty open to you.
Yeah. So like I was like, no, I had an assistant most of the time. I was like, I don't care if I gave you the best shampoo. I don't want to touch hair. But I feel like I've always
Full transparency.
yeah, transparency, no. But like my touch, I feel like people have always found soothing. So I don't know, those two things together, I'm like, okay. So it was more just like exploration of what this could be. And then I just played with it. I thought it was really fun and I liked helping people in that way. Hey, I'm going to like touch your body and see. I always think about it as like I touch the body and it tells me something. So I'm going to touch your body and see what it says. And we're going to use breath. A lot of the times in the beginning, I felt like I was just winging it. Like, I'm like, I don't know if this is real or if this is doing anything, but come and see how you feel. And people were
Let's
like,
try it.
really, that's how it was. Cause I didn't, in the beginning, I wasn't thinking about, okay, I'm going to quit my other job and start doing this. I was just like, play here and see what's happening. Then as time went on, I got more confident. Whenever I would finish a session, someone's like, oh, I feel different. I'm like, okay, that's great. Something's happening here.
And that's the thing is, even if it's the placebo, does
Yeah.
you feel better and your body starts functioning better? Where does it matter? Even in medical trials for pharmaceuticals and stuff like that, the placebo effect is typically between 60 and 70% as effective as the pharmaceutical. So why
Yeah.
would it matter, even if it was just, hey, I'm providing this environment where you feel safe and your body kind of does its own thing?
Hmm. Yes.
Mhm.
So I just felt like I had been helping my clients in the hair world for a long time, but they would come back and have the same things over and over. And it was exhausting me. And I was like, okay, look, here's a spot where I can like give this intuitive advice that I'm getting, give it to you. And you are coming because you actually want to make a change. And that just felt really like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And so I eventually took the courageous step of just like, go. But I feel like the whole time until, I mean, maybe even till now, it's been like, okay, this works. Let me try this. Let me play here. And just watching how my body responds to people, how people's bodies respond to different touch, sound, breath, movement has been really how I've learned and honed my craft, in addition to taking breathwork courses and somatic release courses and reading a lot and meditating a lot and doing divine feminine healing ceremonies. Learning like the last year, I've been doing a priestess training, which has changed some of the ways that I'm working one on one with clients and in groups. So yeah, I feel like it's grown in different ways and I just keep like following the little breadcrumbs and yeah, grateful for all the
Yes.
people I get to work with.
That's so awesome. I didn't realize that you were in priestess training.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And again, something that's very unique that I think a lot of people are inquisitive and curious about because they see things on the internet or follow some people that kind of talk about these things, but they're not quite sure how working with those people who are offering these things would benefit them. Or they're curious enough where they're like, this feels like something I would like to do. I just don't know where to start. And kind of like you were saying, I think so many times we think we need to know it all. And I love that your story is like, actually, I just followed where I was curious. I felt fun. I followed what felt true for me, true for my body, true for like just this like almost like magnet of like pulling me in.
Yeah. Well, and it's been like a journey, like it's not like, okay, today I am doing this and then tomorrow I'm an energy healer focuses in somatics and divine feminine. Like that is not how it went. It was like, okay, I am going to try this out and I think I'm just going to work from home and then maybe I'll do some people here and there. I think I want to do it in person and looking at not only what I wanted to do with making people feel safe in their bodies, connecting them, giving intuitive advice, but also like what did I want my life to look like with that?
Yeah.
Because that's something I really never gave thought to before. I kind of just like kept going and followed. I definitely did something that was alternative. Like it's not like I did go to college and then I decided I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm doing hairdressing. So I have freedom. But then I like jumped into having this very set schedule and pattern that was very much like my mentors. And I was like, I need to pay attention and do what feels right for me. Because so that was one of the big things. If I'm teaching people how to live authentically, I also have to live
Yeah.
authentically. And
Oh,
that was a
100%.
huge part of it.
Yeah, and I mean, even just bringing this up, like, so Kristen and I work in the same office, and then Brooke, who she spoke about earlier, also works in there, and we all do these energy healing modalities, and we all do it a little bit different.
Yeah.
And kind of like, I love what you said in the beginning that you're like, oh, I thought it had to be like this, and it was like kind of playing around with like there wasn't this big vision. And so many times I've talked about this with a couple of people that have gone through different energy healer programs and learned and things like that, and they're like, I kind of like how you set up your schedule to be like your mentors. They're like, I think I'm going to get intuitive information like my mentor did.
Yeah.
And like if you ever again meet all three of us at any point, or separately or together, which is very cool, um, we all receive information differently. Sometimes she hears in different like dialects in different languages. Sometimes she can tell where they are as far as descent of different parts of the world. Nobody talks to me in other languages. Like I don't get messages like that. I get more of a feeling, and when information comes through, it sounds more like my voice. And so sometimes when you have that where you're comparing yourself, maybe you're not doing it right. But I love that you're like, I just follow the next best thing. And one of the moments that I had really stood out to me. It made me laugh, to be honest. I chuckled and I was like, I'm going to say this and she's going to think I'm nuts. But I'm doing a session and I get to the crown of somebody's head and I was like, this is going to sound so weird. But is there somebody close to you that was like a surfer dude? And she was like, yes. Oh, okay, good. Because again, I couldn't hear a surfer dude voice, but it felt that in my body. And it was very like radical dude, like that kind of vibe. And I was like, did he talk like that? She's like, he did. And so it made me laugh because it was such a stark and clear contrast. And I was like, God, here goes my weirdness again. Yeah, like my crazy is coming out. I was like, please let this be real. Please.
Oh,
You know what I mean? And you're like,
totally.
in your mind, you're like, some of the things that come through for people because it doesn't make sense to you because it's not yours
Yes. Yeah.
seems crazy.
100%.
And then once you say it, they're like, oh, yes. Like I had somebody that was like, I can't remember, but it was like carrots for the dog. Like I was like, does your dog like carrots? There's like something about, she's like, oh my gosh, my dad used to give the dog carrots all the time. That was something that we would often like argue about. Of like, you got to stop feeding the dog carrots. And I was like, okay, again, like when stuff like that comes through, you're like, God, this is going to be weird. It's not. And kind of to your point of like, you kind of have to follow these breadcrumbs. And it may not be that you're in energy healing or in that kind of more intuitive world, but I think all of these things come into your awareness and come
Totally.
into your consciousness. You become, however you want to label that, but it comes in because it's for you. And it doesn't always make sense because you can't connect the dots
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah. And we like spend a lot of times as human beings trying to connect dots and trying to make sense of things. And I know for me, like that was the thing that really like opened everything up when I was like, fuck it, I'm not going to try to connect the dots. I'm just going to say the weird things. And what's the worst case? It doesn't land. But like, just like you said, it's like, yeah, I don't know if there's been a time where someone was like, no, not at all.
Or said no initially.
And then later it's like, oh,
yes.
yeah,
Yeah, like I've had people text me, they're like, I don't know why I didn't put two and two together. They're like,
totally.
such and such, because as somebody, and again, I feel like if you feel differently, please let me know. But if like, not, Chris is not shy, okay? But because you don't have the full story, you don't have every single detail of their life, you're just kind of being this channel for information that they already know, but sometimes just need to hear, or they need affirmation. So sometimes it doesn't make sense initially until somebody is like, okay, once they hear it, and then they're like, wait, it takes them a minute because their
Totally.
consciousness or their awareness was like wanted the information, but wasn't ready to hear it in that context sometimes.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. A lot of times, especially in the beginning, I would really make a conscious, please remove my conscious mind, let my subconscious speak. I could get out of my own way of, the connecting the dots or trying to be like, is this the right time to say it for them? Or are they going to understand it? Or should I say it later? Things like that, because it pulls you out of the present moment and takes you away from being right there with them.
Yeah.
And so that's a lot of like the divine feminine stuff that I have learned and worked with has helped me, but it's also something I do with my clients. I do a channel clearing meditation before every session. So I have them ground into the earth and ground up into the heaven, and we clear their central channel just through breath and visualization. It's different kind of every time. I don't have like one set thing, but we clear that all up so they're really present in their bodies. And, I'm asking for divine guidance and for their guides to come in, but I'm also asking for them to be ready to receive the information. And that has helped me like get rid of that ego voice of like, is it now? Should it be later? And
Where you like
and I
analyze the information.
yeah, as we do. But I noticed that when I started doing that, I've probably been doing that for like a year plus now. And every once in a while, like if somebody really wants to talk before and I'm like, okay, we got to get to some things, maybe I don't do it. I can feel the difference in the room and I can feel the difference in the way that that person's receiving something because we all come in with like our stuff, our masks or layers or this or that. And that just brings you to the intention is to bring you to empty present so that you can really like feel the things that you need to feel.
Yeah. Well, and it's almost like kind of clearing the clouds a little bit,
Mhm.
the clutter. And I think that's kind of the whole purpose of meditation, any
Yeah.
meditation really is that to prep your mind, your body to be less reactive in your patterns and be more responsive, So whether you're, again, having a session with Kristen and she's working through stuff that's coming up in your body, or you're doing something where you're meditating at home, it's like
Yeah.
that's a practice that's valuable no matter where you're at.
Totally. Yeah, I do my own channel clearing like every morning and sometimes every night, and it makes a huge difference. And actually, I didn't do it today. I did it when I came in here, but my morning was rougher than it needed to be, and that's probably why.
I noticed that I'm now, I started when I first went through my 200-hour yoga teacher training. That was my first
Okay.
introduction really to any type of meditation. Of course, I'd heard about it, but never really practiced it. And her and I actually did different times, but same training.
Okay.
And they make you sit for 30 minutes every single time. And to somebody who's never meditated, like 30 minutes is fucking long. You were like, oh, that there's be a lot more yoga.
I thought we were doing yoga.
No.
It's
Yeah. And you start to realize, like, as that kind of practice started, I kind of fell off and on, did my 300-hour, kind of got back on again.
Mhm.
And at this point, have meditated for over 1,700 days straight, which I don't know how many years that is, but it keeps track for me. I know. I never, ever in a million years thought I would be this person who, like you said, like I get up, I pee, and I sit right back down and I meditate. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's 5 minutes, sometimes it's 20 minutes, 30 minutes, depends on what's kind of going on for the day. But if I get up and like something happens for whatever reason, I don't do it, I can feel a difference.
Oh,
Like, oh, I didn't meditate.
yeah, like
Ah,
that.
like that's what it is. Yeah. And
What's that?
and it's not because meditation does something magical, but what it does is it creates that space for you not having to react, and not right away filling your mind and your energetic body with like all this extra.
All the extra stuff.
Yeah.
Whatever the
Totally.
stories are on Instagram or TikTok or whatever.
Mhm.
The
Oh,
news, the this, let's settle in first. Yeah, I call it sacred start every morning. And I'll like have my water and my coffee because I need those, even if I'm gonna sit. And when I drink coffee, I always like put blessings into my coffee because I don't want to feel anxious, but I really want to enjoy a delicious cup of coffee and maybe two.
well, you're like, if I'm getting bold that day.
Maybe two. And then sit for 5. And right now I'm doing an hour a day because I'm doing 300-hour yoga
Mm.
teacher training. So yeah, it makes such a difference. But I love that you've like tracked it. I would.
Well, it's because I started using Insight Timer during the training, and because when I did my 300-hour, it was during 2020, and so everything had to be virtual. So I needed some way to like
Show.
and like track that I was doing it. And so then from there, I got to like 150 days or something like that. I was so proud of myself. And then I forgot a day and I was like, "Damn it."
Yeah. It's really sad when you
Yeah.
forget
But then at that point, it
when
felt
you're tracking something.
yes. And at that point, it felt so good every time that I was like, I think I realized during the day that I hadn't done it and I just didn't come back to it. And I was like, oh, I don't want to do that again. And so sometimes again, if I'm traveling or whatever, I might not sit down and do it just like that, but I'll set like a little like 1 minute timer just to again clear that like clutter and find a semblance of peace throughout the day.
Need it.
Yeah. How did you I'm like so fascinated. Kristen and I really haven't talked about this much.
We haven't.
I'm excited. Like her and I always see each other in passing, and sometimes we get to like work together on our computers in what we call board meetings, where all are on the computer together doing virtual shit. But we don't actually get to sit and kind of like dive into a lot of this stuff. So I think a lot of people, when they're kind of diving into that realm of maybe energy healing or maybe they're interested in like homeopathy or herbalism or these things that are kind of again paths that are not as common. And I would say going to school to learn to become a priestess is not as common. Like I don't even know, like how did this transition happen? And where did you find your school? Like, because again, I think people are afraid to be quote unquote like different or you
Yeah.
know, let their freak flag fly. And you're like, here, I'm a priestess.
Oh my God.
And she
And I'm
does.
gonna say it's like taken me a while to be able to like say those words out loud because I it feels weird and it feels like you're gonna get judged, right? And as much as I enjoy being different, I'm not gonna lie, I like being a little different, a little weird. I always have. So weird doesn't normally intimidate me, but like when I feel like it's weird where people who I love and respect are gonna be like, did she fully fall off the wagon of the world and she's just on a full crazy train now? Then I get a little like, this is the story of a lot of things with me, right? Like I'm trying to work on something that's very serious. And like I found breath work when I went to a business conference and they did breath work there. And I was like, okay, I need to learn how to teach this. This was in 2018 or something before it was really everywhere. And then for the priestess thing, I was doing a money course with Kate Northrup
Oh yeah.
is amazing and great. And she's like, "Oh, my friend Sarah is gonna do this." I can't remember if it was like she was doing this call, and I was like, "Well, I love Kate and everything she's brought me. This sounds cool." And it was like, it's spiritual, and I was like, "Great, spiritual, cool."
I love that. Right up my alley.
Like, yeah, I love that. And like Kate Northrup, I feel like it is such a nice blend of like practical and like energy. She does a lot of nervous system stuff around money. So I really liked that. And I'm like, cool, okay. I'm sure I'm going to enjoy this. So I get on this call. And this one was like, hello, my name is Sarah. I'm a priestess. And I was like, whoa, I do not like that.
And goodness. You're like, huh, I just felt my whole system go whoop,
I was like, I don't like it.
back in.
Yeah. It was really fascinating because right away I had an aversion, but I also like felt very like connected to
Curious.
her right away. I was like, I like this lady. And then she said that and I was like, she's like, I'm an ordained priestess. And I was like, is that a thing? Like, what?
Like a church, like a priestess, not a priest.
Yeah. How do we I grew up Catholic and I'm like, I don't think we get to do that.
It's a no to
In the
late.
back of my mind, like there's like that. Anyway, so she leads us through, I can't remember if she was just like leading through a little like meditation and then like talking about something, but essentially she invited everyone to come to a ceremony, which I was like, okay, yeah, I do ceremonies all the time, whatever. And then I went to this and it was like I felt something in my entire body. It was wild. I had never felt like I have practiced yoga for years. I feel like I'm pretty in my body most of the time. And I'd never felt so like electric and grounded at the same time. And so I was like, okay, there's something here. So she had a program called Holy Woman that was just like new moon ceremonies once a month virtually. I was like, great, I can commit to that. I'll do that. So I did that for a while. I got something out of it every time. And it's fun. We're dressing in a color frequency. We're dancing at the end of it. It was very much like the opposite of church.
Yeah.
of like you're sitting and you're going through. My dad would always like
Up,
tease.
down, up, down, up, down.
Yeah, that's it. He'd be like, "Oh, standing up, sitting
We're
down."
kneeling.
Yeah, it just was so different, but it felt really good. And like I have a strong connection to the divine. I talk to God a lot. I pray all the time. But I and like sometimes I'm like, I should I go to church? Should I not go to church? I don't know.
Mhm.
Where am I? And because I love the traditions and I love that feeling of being in community.
Yeah.
That like sometimes I go and I'm like, what are we talking about? What? And so this was like, it almost gave, and she gave permission. Like, this doesn't have to be like you're taking away your other belief system. This is something, this is the divine feminine or the sacred feminine. And this is the way that women used to practice them together. And you can still do your other stuff. And I was like, I love that permission. I love that it's
Yeah.
not like one or the other. And that felt really good. So then after I had done that for a while, she was like, hey, my mentor is doing this training at in the 13 Moon Mystery School or something, which I was like, that sounds like wackadoodle.
Oh,
And
I think I've actually heard of this.
uh-huh. I like looked into it. I mean, honestly, like I think that's what it's important to know. Like, even though I'm here in this world, being an energy healer, welcoming you in, telling you things like, okay, I'm seeing this about this and da 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 da. I still have things that I'm like,
You're like, that seems a little far fetched, even for me.
but it also like I kind of laugh at myself when I'm doing that. I'm like, okay, really? Oh, I remember like sitting in my bathtub and being like, fine, I'm just gonna do it. I'm signing up for a year of the introductory, like learn how to be a priestess. But I don't know what it means. So I'm in the 11th month of it now, or the 11th. There's
Yeah,
13 cycles.
cycle.
And it's been really great. It we go through like different goddess archetypes. You learn how to, there's no like hierarchy system, like everybody's offering different things. Learning how to create frequencies in the rooms, just like getting back in touch with the things that we know intuitively as women. And before this, I was already like working a lot in our natural cycles and the cycles of the earth. And I had already been doing that. And it's like, this is essentially what this is, just with this added layer of, I don't know, like different traditions and calling in different, they call it archetypes of the goddess. So, like, right now we're in like a weaver dreamer. So it's like co creation and it's noticing all the threads throughout life, which I feel very strongly about. But then the shadow side is then sometimes you get lost and you don't know where you're going to go. And I'm like, oh, hi. Yep.
It's
Yeah. And it started off in something that brought up a huge, like, mom wound for me, and I was like, "I don't think I wanna do this." So it's like, some of the cycles are like, "I love this, this feels great," and some of them are really, really hard, 'cause like, pulling shit out, um, and then from here, I go on and get to learn different rituals and go stronger, and there's, like, a whole essentially, like, I can already call myself a priestess, but I can also keep going and become ordained and work even deeper in it. So that's that.
I love that. And there's a couple of things though that you said that really stuck out to me that
Okay.
I think as people are navigating, so I'm finding out who they are and following, like you said, the little breadcrumbs because we can't see all of it and we can't predict all of these things. And even if you apply for a job and get said job, you still don't know sometimes all that's entailed with every single
Yes.
job. But especially if you're building something on your own, you're starting to really carve your own path. And I love that you said initially you had an interest in something, but then when it was kind of called out for something that goes against the norm or something that's accepted, there was aversion to it, where
Yeah.
there's this feeling that it's like a two sides of the same coin or double, sword or whatever you want to use for your analogy. But that what is best for us does not always mean we love it so much. And it just
Yes.
feels flowery.
Mhm. I
Mm.
know. I think about it as like an initiation, right? Like
Mm.
when something comes up and you're like, this feels good. I don't like that. It's like, oh, there's something here for me. And I'm probably going to have to go through a little bit to fully embody and integrate it into my life. And that might be like my belief system. That might be this worry of judgment that
Yeah.
what's everybody going to think about me?
Yeah.
Um,
With the
my-
same say, I'm Priestess Kristen.
yeah. I'm not quite there yet. So I'll let you know how that goes. But I do feel like I can say like, hey, I've been working in this priestess school and I'm learning this without like the first few months I was like, I'm in a priestess school. But I've gotten so much value out of it. And I do feel like there is that aversion. I mean, with anything that you start that's going to clear something off, there's always like aversion or resistance,
Yeah.
right? Like
Oh,
I think about it in like, a holotropic breath work. You're doing a 3-part breath. In the first 5 minutes, you're like, get me out of here. And then the
no.
last, you're like, this is amazing. I could stay here forever. But it's because when we're going towards something that our intuition is guiding us towards, your heart is guiding you towards, your spirit is guiding you towards, whatever, it's not going to be the same shit you were doing. It's just
No. And I mean, I think in that sense of like feeling that aversion, like that's like an alarm system from the nervous system that says,
Mhm.
hey, this is triggering something that goes against what I've already known or been taught. But then I think what happens is your nervous system feels one thing and your soul feels another, which is why you
Yeah.
feel the pull, or like that's your karmic cycle, or however you would like to position this. But like understanding that there's a part of you that almost requires this to evolve. Your nervous system, the society, the belief system, or the structure that you grew up in and have always known to be true is counterintuitive to whatever this is for your soul's growth. So it's going to put this block here for you,
Right.
feel that trigger so that you can choose differently. Because otherwise you would choose the same thing over and over. Because it always just feels good.
Yeah. And I feel like too, a lot of times, like you said, it's like a remembering, right? Like when you're so,
Yes.
and that's how I've felt in these ceremonies and in these circles, which I'm starting to host Living Temple with my priestess mentor. She changed her whole system and now she's doing live temples throughout the country. So I get to be one of the hosts. So you'll have to come sometime.
I love that. You guys
Yeah.
are in Las Vegas. You should come to temple with us.
Yes. It's going to be really cool. But when I've sat in on these things, which, in the beginning, I'm like, I don't even know what's happening. But it was like that electric and grounded feeling was like, you remember this, you know that.
Mhm. I feel like that when I read, have you read Anatomy of Spirit by Caroline Myss?
Mhm.
I remember reading that book, and that is literally, it felt electric. I was like, my soul already knows this. It's like I already knew everything she was writing,
Yeah.
and it felt like a remembering. And my book, I've read it so many times. It's got like all these dog ears, highlighter everywhere, notes on the side.
Yeah.
But in that sense, I think your soul always knows what you need, and it's always going to be drawn to those things. So even if you didn't say yes to this like priestess training now,
Right.
I think other opportunities would continue to present themselves for you to learn about divine feminine teachings, because that's
Yeah.
part of what your soul's evolution is. So a lot of times people are frustrated when they're like, I keep the same thing keeps happening. I'm like, yeah, because you don't fucking say yes and like learn.
It's so funny. Like I even remember like the divine feminine definitely has been like, and I'm like, no, no, no. Like the first time somebody was like, oh, Mary Magdalene, she is different than you thought, like what we were taught. And I was like, I remember being like, I'm not ready for that. Like, I don't want that right now. And then when I read like
Oh,
her gospel and read about her, I was like, what? It's like I was there. I know this already. Like I already know it. So it's really funny sometimes the things that you have such a strong aversion to, like I've found for myself, the stuff that I have the strongest aversion to is where there's the most power.
yeah. Oh, 100%. Every time we're kind of talking about aversion, there's a woman, I won't tell who it is, but there's a woman who teaches marketing and she says some of the most spicy, like very blunt, exactly what she's thinking, which I love, but I also recognize it. Sometimes I'm like, oh gosh, like let's just see, like, why are you sharing this on the internet type of thing? But what's coming up is I recognize, even I've talked about this in other podcast episodes, going back to school for me was like, I still felt like I needed to have, once I have my PhD in natural medicine, then people will like, it'll be serious. And I was like, I'm literally doing the same shit. There's some evolution of it. There's some additional things that I'm like, I think this would be beneficial and like pulling it in, but I'm doing a lot of the same shit I was doing before. But I recognize like my resistance to sharing was that I felt like I needed to have something. I need to have this certification. I needed to have this to then not get that pushback.
Yeah.
And guess what? That hasn't changed. And if anything, I feel like it's kind of pushed me to be like, you just have to fucking share. You just have to fucking put your stuff out there. Like, you can't be waiting for people to not be critical of you because, I mean, look at Taylor Swift. Look at any big person in the media, things like that. There are always a whole slew of people who don't like them, agree with them, who think they are doing things wrong. They shouldn't have been in that role for that movie. They make terrible music. I'm like, just can't do it right. Please, everybody.
But it's funny because it's so ingrained with us. And I know that's something that I struggled with in the beginning of this journey is like, I feel like I need more knowledge or I need more training or I need more this so that it's like, hi, I'm not weird. Actually, I'm actually very level-headed and I'm intelligent and I'm this. And I also just happen to be intuitive and a healer, right?
Yeah.
But like, and the older I get, the wiser I get, whatever. I'm like, that doesn't matter. But there is sometimes like a voice. I know when you were going for your PhD, I was like, should I be doing, do I need more education? You know, like it's just like this. I think there's a certain level of like worthiness wound that when you are a woman in this kind of a field, we've been told for so long that our voice doesn't matter and that we don't know as much, that even if you're not consciously thinking that, it's underneath there and it's been passed on for generations and generations. And we're like out here trying to be like, I'm doing this thing, but also like, do you believe me?
Yeah. Well, yes, all those things. There was a required reading. I can't remember which class I was in, but I think the book was called Mind Over Medicine. I can't remember, but she talks a lot about the placebo effect and how that shows up in different medical institutions and different practices and things like that. So anyways, she was basically going over this study that was talking about how when somebody shows up, we are so indoctrinated into thinking that healthcare and medicine is attached to, and getting better is attached to a white coat. And so somebody would come in, they were not a doctor, they did not have the education, they would listen to your problems and then say, okay, I'm just going to step out of the room for a second, but they wore a white coat. They took their vitals before and after, and their vitals improved just by seeing somebody in a white coat. Which just goes to show you that the anticipation of getting better actually has a lot more to do with what you believe is going to make you better and a lot less to do with who's telling it to you. Because again, I've been kind of doing this. By the time this comes out, it'll be a little while. So I've been doing this experiment with TikTok. Okay. So I was like, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to wear a white coat. I now have this doctor title. I'm going to wear this white coat and I'm going to see if, again, this rings true, even in content. 100%.
Really?
Almost every single video that I do in a white coat performs better. Even if there's a lot of negative comments or people like, it gets so much more traction. And I can guarantee you it's because, yes, when I wear almost the exact same thing, but I wear regular clothes, I'm in the exact same environment. The only thing that changes is that I'm wearing the coat. I shouldn't be telling you this because now my secret is out.
No, you're going to start seeing me in a white coat. I'm like, I'm not a doctor.
Well, and that's what they're like, why are you wearing a lab coat? I was like, why are you wearing a sweatshirt? It's 80 degrees outside. Like, mind your business, you know?
True.
But like, I was doing, only one person, she caught on. She was talking about how they were dissecting like how I said something. I have to just say this on purpose because my mouth wants to say disassociation. The like technical term for the medical, like when you're in fight or flight, is dissociation, not disassociation. Both mean to separate or to feel separate or to separate from something. They both mean the same thing, but okay, cool. But anyways, people are picking apart the way that I'm saying. I don't know the difference because I'm a doctor. Like, they would never entrust me with their health. I was like, good, I didn't ask you to be my client. And I'm like, one woman is like, I'm amazed at how much traction. She's like, I guarantee you the negative comments have helped your video do so well. And she's like, I wonder if it's also that, you know, the white coat that you're wearing. Like, I was like, ooh, mama knows her marketing.
Yeah.
But also just like the psychology and like how much when we're talking about things like energy healing and when we're talking about things like the divine feminine or tapping into your intuitive wisdom. When you're talking about a lot of these things or being able to heal yourself naturally, and the model that you have been shown is that I can only heal if somebody else
Yes.
gives me something.
Yeah.
The divine feminine model and the energy healing and that world says you have all of the healing power within your body. It feels counterintuitive at first. So you might feel aversion. You might think we're fucking weird.
Yeah. You might think we're lying to you.
And that's the whole point is to create this separation of you're wrong, I must be right. And when you realize that like they actually walk side by side and dance together, that there's going to be a time and a place for surgery, for pharmaceuticals, for medical intervention like that. But there's also a time and a place for recognizing how much your emotions are affecting your physical body.
Yep.
And I know you work a lot in like the somatic world, so working a lot with the body itself and like how that translates.
Yeah. You're making me think of the concept of the sacred third, which is something I teach about a lot, like, because we live in such black and white. Like, "Oh, I have to pick this or I have to pick that. Like, I have to be someone who aligns with going to the doctor, or I have to be somebody who's holistic." And even like some people that are doing both were like, well, the natural inclination is like, well, you should pick one.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's so much more than that with anything, like even with things that we're deciding, am I an energy healer or am I a somatic practitioner? Just,
Yeah.
um, anyway, sorry, that just made me think of that. And I'm wearing this like checkerboard, which also makes me think of it's like this color and this color. And it's like, what if you just are right in between and you're
Yeah. Like where they meet. And that's where I'm like, it's always like the gray, that really life is just all these different shades of gray. Everybody. And like none of them are wrong or I mean, there might be some that are a little more wrong than others, like killing people. But
right.
but
Right.
for the
But
most
most of the
part,
time, there's a sacred third, there's a gray area. It's funny to work, like you talked about working somatically. Working somatically, I feel like has been so powerful because I am good at talking to people. I feel like people feel safe with me. I think that's a natural gift that I have. So they would say things that they know, but then I could feel that their body was doing something different,
yeah.
like holding on to the resistance. And so I started really just like playing in somatics and letting the body move in a really slow way, which is really hard for people. I think that's the hardest piece of at least the somatic work that I do is like you're doing small movements that it's slow. Everyone's like, let me just fling my legs this way and that way. And I'm like, actually, I want you to move really slow so that the energy can move, like watching it go out of people's bodies. So if you have, a belief that you aren't worthy, right? Like in whatever way it's showing up. And then I tell you to say, I'm worthy, I'm worthy. And you're like, I'm saying it and nothing else is changing. Well, then your body is not accepting it. It's like that cross radio signal.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're on two different channels, right? So you're saying I'm worthy, but your body's like, don't come over here because I'm not worthy of that. Like, don't give me the abundance because I can't hold it. And so, like, that's a really common one. Like, I want to make a lot of money. And like I'm saying I'm
Nervous
abundant.
system is
I'm
built for it.
right.
Yeah.
Right. The nervous system isn't ready. And I found that one of the best ways to do that is to like let the body move, then say the things.
Yeah.
Then there's space for it, essentially. So I do a lot of like lower body work just because I feel like that's where a lot of
Yeah.
those safety places come in. There's definitely stuff in shoulders that I'll do. But one of my favorites is like feet planted on the ground, knees point up to the ceiling, and literally just moving the knees like 1 inch to the right, 1 inch to the left. And it feels like nothing's happening. And it's amazing. Like when people lay their legs down, they'll be so like tight when we start. And then they finish and it's like, vroom, like you can just see their like hips open, their legs
Yeah.
open.
Yeah.
So cool.
And I think a lot of times, and this is like just such a great, like to come full circle, that like it's not always about having that, like, okay, I'm just trying to get to the goal. It's so much about that in between. Like, again, your body wasn't ready for conversations around being a priestess when you first.
Right.
And so, yeah, so sometimes it's like coming to even, whatever it is that you're working towards or things like that, like allowing there to be these like small little things, these kind of like, again, implementing small somatic practices, implementing 5 minutes of meditation, implementing these like, okay, I don't need to figure it all out, but this feels fun and I enjoy this and I'm curious about this right now. And giving yourself, like you said, the permission to change permission that like it's okay if I feel a little weird or I feel like I'm not quite sure what I'm doing. Like all of those things are okay as you're working towards the goal. The goal is not the most important thing. And I always say everybody wants $1 million, but what they actually want to be is a millionaire, which is different. A millionaire has learned the lessons. A millionaire embodies the work. A millionaire understands how to create and generate leads and income and scale and build. Having $1 million and just to have it is like when you win the lottery. Most of the time, it's something like 80 to 90%. Yeah, within a year, it's gone because you don't know how to be the millionaire.
Yeah.
You know, and kind of like you're saying, like your whole life, like they're as you've grown into this role, and whether you're whatever process you're in right now when you're listening, like in order to be that person at the end that feels like they can come on a podcast and say, I'm a fucking priestess, yo, there has to be this in between.
Yeah.
You know, there has to be all these little things, all these little nudges that you've followed throughout the process.
Yeah. Which sometimes was my shoulders locking up and my this and my that. And it's okay. Whenever my body loves to lock up if I'm ignoring things. Which is probably why I became interested in somatics. I'm like, what is happening? But that's exactly what I did. It's like, I'm like, okay, you're going to do this. And it feels uncomfortable and exciting. So let's sit and let's lay here and let's move our hips and see how we feel after. And every time it would be a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah.
And if life is feeling uncomfortable, like that's my go-to. It's like, let's just sit and see what's here and let's wiggle around on the ground and see if you feel different after.
I'm like, that's what I was joking. I'm like, well, when I go to yoga, I just kind of roll around there for a little while until I figure it out, until my body's like, oh yeah, okay, then know what we're doing.
Got this.
Oh yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Kristen, for just kind of coming on. And I feel like there's so many little nuggets that people can take away, whether it's just kind of following those breadcrumbs, not having to figure it all out, being okay with the gray that's in between, noticing that sometimes your soul is calling for something. There's going to be a little bit of aversion or again, something kind of like a hero's journey, like that you have to work through a bit to embody those things. Like all of those things are very normal. And in fact, almost like part of this journey in becoming who you are, remembering who you are. So thank you so much for just chit chatting and sharing all of your wisdom and your growth as an energy healer, a somatic practitioner, a priestess, all the things.
Thank you. It was fun. It's always fun to talk about this and reflect back. It's like, oh yeah, I've gone someplace.
I did those things. Weird. I forgot. At the end, I always like to ask if you could give people a one-liner for becoming the frequency, for embodying the frequency of the person that they want to be. What would be your one-liner of just words of wisdom?
Always come back to love. I think whenever we're off, we're trying to be something we're not. We're trying to be a different version of ourselves. And if you can just love exactly where you are right now, you'll always go forward and you'll find something.
I love that. It's so true. I just had a moment where I was like, all these guests, I'm going to get like a rolling document of their like incredible one-liners. Like every single person, I'm just like, damn, this wisdom they drop it around here.
I can't wait. I'm like, I want the document.
Yeah, I'm like, maybe I'll like drop like once a week, like drop like a couple or something like that. I don't know. I haven't decided yet, but I was like, oh, that would be fun. But thank you again for being here and everybody for listening. If you enjoyed the podcast, please make sure, if you're watching it on YouTube, please make sure you hit subscribe so you can be notified when there's new episodes every week. Kristen has an incredible resource for you, actually. Talking about kind of getting into that cyclical nature. There's actually 13 moon cycles in the year, which is probably why this priestess school, again, has 13 months. And just in her reference to, like, again, kind of finding herself in this cyclical living, she actually has a guide for you. So I'll link that below, Cyclical Living Guide. You can find her on Instagram at Calm in Total Chaos. Anywhere else they can find you? Any good stuff that...
One day I'm going to be more active on TikTok. I'm there and Pinterest. And right now you can also find me in my office. And my like latest offers, I do a Divine Feminine group a couple times a year. That's always posted on Instagram. And I do other small groups as well. So yeah.
I love it. And all that stuff to be able to find her will be in the show notes for you. So you can go ahead and just click those links, whichever one you're interested in. And until next time, you guys have a great one and cheers.